And we're going to talk a little bit about gun safety. I know you're an avid hunter, but you also are or have been a teacher of gun safety for kids, right?
Yes, for several years.
Okay. We want to go over a little bit about how somebody can be safe when they're either hunting with somebody or just happen to be out in the woods doing whatever. First of all, you're saying that it's very unlikely if somebody's out hunting, if it's just a group, that they'd encounter, or excuse me, if people are just out walking around, that they'd actually encounter hunters, right?
It would depend on the circumstance, but it would be highly unlikely. You know, like the scenarios during squirrel season, you're in the woods, hardwood trees, hickory nuts and stuff like that is what squirrels eat. Then during deer season, deer hunters are in the woods and around perimeter feeding areas and things of that nature. So it would be, you know, hikers would not necessarily run into the hunter at that point. And the same with upland game. That usually takes place in dense undergrowth and brush. As a general rule, you probably would very seldom ever run into a hiker or something if you were hunting.
Okay. Now with gun safety, what's the first thing you usually teach people when they come in for a hunting class?
The first and always the principal rule is treat every gun as if it were loaded. Never get sloppy or just don't handle a gun sloppily. Take note whenever anytime that you pick up a gun, always check to make sure that it is unloaded, and you should always have the breech or the action of the gun open. You always watch where you would point the muzzle. And always keep it in a safe direction. You would want to, before you took the gun to the field, you make sure that the action and the barrel are clean. Make sure there's nothing stuck in there. Most everybody that I know, they store their guns properly, and they either keep them in a case or in a gun closet or safe or something of that nature. So, but it's still a good idea to check those things and make sure that there's nothing, because always make sure that you know the target you're shooting at and beyond, because if you miss, the bullet keeps going. So you always want to do that. And just like never load your gun until you get to the field, and unload it before you get back to the truck, because most hunting accidents in the field happen at those two junctures, you know, when you're either loading or unloading. And you want to make sure that you unload the gun before you get back to the truck, and always do it in a safe manner. Turn away from your buddies or whatever and eject the shells out of it. Never climb a fence or a tree or jump a ditch with a loaded gun. Always take the time. It just takes a second. Pull the shells out of it and then climb back over or whatever. And if you're hunting with a group, you hold one person's gun, they climb the fence, and then you hand them both the guns. I mean, just an added thing of safety there. Never shoot at something on a hard surface, like you're on one side of a lake and game is on the other side of the lake, and the water's smooth as silk. Just make sure that, you know, there's ample distance between whatever you're shooting at that, because if you happen to shoot something on the water with a single projectile, the ricochet, you have no idea where it's going to go. It may go down, it may go up, and it could go anywhere. You just don't know.
And you were saying some of the instruments that you're using here, some of the bullets and what have you, ammunition could go a mile, or you know.
And that is true. The last thing about this section would be, you know, when you get through your hunting activity, make sure that you clean the gun, lightly oil it, and store it in a safe place. And store it separate from the ammunition. Never put the two together. That way, if a child does happen to stumble into, or curiosity, they find a long gun or something of that nature always lock handguns. They don't have the ammunition with them, so that's very important as well. And last but not least, save the partying until you're through.
Exactly.
It's not like don't drink and drive. This is an absolute no-no.
Yeah.
One of the things that need to cover is make sure that you have the proper ammunition for the gun that you're using. All right. This is a 12 gauge automatic shotgun. All right. This is a 20 gauge shell. It will fit all the way down and slide all the way into the barrel. That's why you check it and make sure that it doesn't go all the way in, and then you put another 12 gauge shell that will fit, it won't go any farther than the breech. You always make sure that you have the proper ammunition for the proper shotgun shell or whatever that you're using. This is a 22. It's actually a kid's gun. It's very good for plinking or just recreation, and it's a real good tool to teach kids gun safety, because it's difficult they cannot pull this back. You have to assist them. So just in that aspect, it makes the gun truly safe for teaching kids gun safety. And but you treat every gun like it's loaded. I've got some different type shells here. This is a 22 caliber. And that goes in the small rifle. They use these for squirrel hunting or just plinking or whatever. Now, this particular cartridge is a 300 Win Mag, which is a 30 caliber bullet, but it has a lot of, and you would use this for like elk or bear or something of that nature. In the shot shells, I didn't have any 410 shells, but this is a 20 gauge shell. And sometimes they call it a low brass or high brass. This would be a high brass because the brass extends up much further than this. See the difference? And this is a 12 gauge, and this is actually a 7.5 shot. And this would have been the type of shell that Vice President Cheney was using. So, and this is a very common shell to use for upland bird hunting. This particular shell is a 3-inch mag. It is a 4-shot, and this is called a turkey load. All right, and the reason for that is you want a dense pattern and to shoot up to 50 yards, more like 45 yards. And this is what it looks like after everything is fired out. The primer has been hit, the shot and wad and everything is gone. But that's just to demonstrate, the different types of ammunition. And of course, like I said before, make sure that you have the right ammunition for the gun that you're going to be using.
Well, thank you for these great tips. And we know you're not teaching the classes anymore, but still there are classes available for people, right?
I think all of the sportsmen know that anybody born after 1975 has to have an orange card. Anybody born after 1949 has to have a hunter safety card to hunt out west or to hunt on a wildlife management area. So that program still exists, and there's a lot of young folks that go through those classes, girls and boys. So it's a good class, and it teaches them a lot. And really and truly, I encourage my grandkids to go through the class because a lot of times they will pay more attention to a different adult than they will their parents. And that's just that's the way it is. I mean, that's
For lots of things.
unfortunately, yes. Right.
Well, thank you very much.
All right.
This has been
Glad to do it.
Gary White with John Thomas getting some information on safety when you're out hunting and with guns.